What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And my awesome guest today is Dr. Alain Salas. Hello, doctor. Did I
Hi,
say
how
that
you
right,
doing?
first of all?
Yeah, you were perfect, man. I'm impressed. I couldn't believe it.
I kept practicing. I just wanted to nail that. I wanted to nail that bad.
You just did. You just did.
Well, doctor, I'm so glad that you joined me. I mean, I love your topic. I probably need to go see you because the last couple of years of my life has been shit. So we're going to learn a lot. We're going to help a lot of people. So I'm excited to
Yes.
jump in. I'm just going to read your bio real quick so everybody knows who we're playing with, if that's okay.
Sure. Of course.
Cool, bit. All right, everybody. We have Dr. Salas is best known for helping lay people, coaches, and health professionals break the cycle of their limiting beliefs so they can achieve vibrant health, harmonious relationships, and sought after prosperity for themselves and their clients. He is the creator of the mind clearing, body clearing, and goal and success clearing systems. Dr. Salas is the #1 Amazon best-selling author, a chiropractic physician, and a body and mind expert. He has served over 4,267 clients and counting to transform their lives in the U.S. and Europe for more than 28 years. But that's not all. There's so much more to the doctor that we're going to find out in a moment. But the first thing I always do, because I have contractually obligated myself to ask the what if you could question. We're the What If You Could podcast. So I always ask my guests, Doctor, is there a what if you could moment or what if you could thought you'd love to share with the gang before we get started?
Yeah. What if you could literally crack the code of life? What if you could literally crack the code of, why we are here? What if we could literally crack the code of um, about how, there's three things that are very important to me and I'm a seeker of. I'm a seeker of knowledge, truth, and freedom. So what if we could crack the code of all those three things? That has been my quest.
Wow. We're going to have to go back to Socrates or some of the great minds. Do we have any great minds besides yours, obviously, because you cracked this stuff? But I mean, do we have any great minds in the world anymore like they did back a couple thousand years ago that think like that? Like, let's crack the code of life. Let's get into the mind. I mean, what do you think? Is there any of those
I
people
think
laying around?
so now. I think so now. Do the system portray those people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's their own interest. I mean, what do you want?
They
You
might
want
be on
free
the
people?
wrong team,
You
right? I
want
mean, they're not doing
knowledgeable?
it for good.
Yeah. What do you mean, Dr. Salas? You want free people? You want knowledgeable people? We want people who know the truth? I'm not sure it will fly very well.
I don't know. Especially knowing the truth is a very different, very challenging thing. Now, you've had a crazy go. You were a sailor, you had a sailboat business back in France, and said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to follow the American dream. I have a vision here. And you came here and rocked it. You kicked ass, and then things got crazy like they sometimes do. Um, and you've completely rebuilt. I mean, where did you go when you said I had to go somewhere and figure all this shit out? Where did you go? What did you do to find go deep into this stuff?
Well, you know what? The first things, it's like, I'm one of a super lucky guy, right? Because my mission in life has been given to me. Right? I was minding my own business in South France. They used to call me the gypsy. I used to party a lot, and all that comes with it, And I just one day I just saw myself helping people, right? Like kind of a healing people. And nobody in my family was doing that. So I started to ask around, and my clients told me, basically to make a long story short, right? Because think that's not too much of a subject here, but I end up, meeting a Chinese doctor, a French Chinese doctor that told me, "Oh, you look strong. Why not chiropractic?" I said, "What's this?" And he gave me the information of some French people who went to America to study it, right? And so, but what was really fascinating to me, it's like their philosophy of what we call the innate intelligence, your own ability to heal yourself. And that's really what sold me, right? And so, sure enough, I went to the US, got my first adjustment with a charming young French lady, from my own town. I mean, crazy, right? And so, and sure enough, I decided to uh, s- sold my boat, right, my business, and went to see my parents and say, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to." So imagine the gypsy, long hair, earring, drunk every night, and just went to see the parents and say, "Oh, by the way, you know what? Well, I'm just gonna become a doctor in America."
Did
So,
anyone believe you, or did they say
oh,
that's a bunch of
they
shit?
laugh a lot. I'm a little bit known for my humor, but here that was like I don't know what kind of laugh it was really. But anyway, so my dad told me after when I succeed and I was able to become a chiropractic physician, told me I give you 6 months. I thought it was a lot actually. He gave me some credit right there. But
Because
anyway,
there's wine and women in America too, you know. I mean, you could have gone right
I
down that
know
rabbit hole.
I figured that out.
But they're not as beautiful as the French women, and the wine's not as
you
good.
know.
So did you said so you ran into was a Chinese doctor or Chinese healer or
Yeah,
what was this person?
here's what happened. It's like that, one of the guys that I was one of my clients, that sometimes you socialize with the clients, you got more affinities,
And
right?
they were
And he
clients
told me
on your sailboat business.
they were a client because I lived on my sailing boat, but I had a boat rental business on the
Ah,
side. So when I
that's
was
what they
done with
were.
the boat rental business on the side, what happened? I will go and sell, in the Mediterranean Sea, Corsica, Balear Islands, Barcelona, a little bit. And after I will buy an airfare ticket, and I was like a sun chaser in a way, right? I didn't see any snow in winter for like almost a decade, right? And so I asked the guy, and the guy told me, "You know what? There's that Chinese doctor that I know is coming to town, and would you like to talk to him?" I said, "Heck yes, yeah." So sure enough, I went and talked to him, and his name was Philip, right? And so he said, "You know what? You need to read. I'm going to give you 3 books to read." And the books were called The Tao Te King, which is like, I don't know if I say that very well in English, but it's a very deep, the Tao. It's a very deep philosophical Chinese book. The other one was called the Hara, Hara. When the Japanese people kill themselves, they do harakiri. And traditionally, they will go to the center of gravity of a human being that is called the hara. The translation will be belly, basically, right? And there's an entire philosophy comes with that. And the third book was the man between the sky and the earth, right? Which is a philosophical book again, but about acupuncture. So I read all those books, and I was fascinated by all those different philosophy. And I went to see him, and sure enough, when I asked him about investigating about Chinese medicine, he told me, if you want to do like I do, which is, really you want to know what you're doing, right? You need to go to China, learn Chinese, study old text. And I wouldn't mind to go to China, but I told him how long it's going to take. He said 10 years. I said, hold on. I'm 30 years old. I want to practice one day, right? And so that's how he look at me and say, "Hey, you look strong. Why not chiropractic?" And sure enough, right? I did it. I couldn't. When you've got your mission in life, you just cannot say no. You don't even think about saying no, and you have no doubt. You just have to try it. That's really the easy way, right? And even though it sounds crazy, because the lifestyle I used to have, and that the different of lifestyle that is required to study is quite different.
It's a little
My
bit
brain
different.
was rusty, Gary. I'm telling you, it was rusty.
It's a little bit, but man, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I mean it's hard to give up wine, women, and song, and being a sailor and living out on the sea and doing all that. I mean, it's tough to give that up. That vision had to be pretty strong.
Yes, it was life changing, obviously, life altering. I mean, there was no doubt. There was like, I just had to do it. It's one of those things that when you know, right?
Yeah,
So
because
there's no
my dream is
discussion. There's no.
to go the other way. My dream is to get the hell out of here and go over there and sail around and drink and chase women. That's my goal.
There
I
we
gotta
go.
go. I gotta change this thing around. So, but you know, chiropractic's very interesting. Chiropractic's very interesting that he led you that way because there's so much more to chiropractic than just cracking bones, right? I mean, you really learn about the different way the body works, and there is so much more Eastern medicine involved with chiropractic than Western medicine, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and and
it's
the
more
main
much
things.
more of a constant thing.
Yeah, and the main things, Gary, attract people who are more like free spirit, right? People who are still are creative, right? We still there's so many different chiropractic technique. I created my technique, which is an energy technique, right? And so there's so many different lots of creation, right? And I mean it's going down now because the state board, want to really be conventional, and we don't want to be recognized and loved by your MDs. Who cares? No, you need to keep that creativity, right? Because look at the
Yeah.
DO. The DO used to be like us, right? And after they just give us all that manipulation, and now the DO from originally from Andrew Steele, right? Now is in Europe, that they perpetuate it. In America, it's over. A DO is like a medical doctor now. And so you definitely, I'm afraid that our profession is going that way. But the things with chiropractic, what I found, since you mentioned it, it's like, I was treating people, right? And so they will get better, and pretty fairly soon they will plateau. And just to maintain the plateau, they will still have to come to see me. So for me, there was something wrong with that, right? Because I know one thing, Gary, for sure, guarantee is this. When you've got a problem in life, and that problem can be a health problem, can be a relationship problem, can be a prosperity problem, right? No matter what the problem is, you need to know two things in order to resolve your problem permanently. Meanings, I don't even think about the problem, I'm moved on. I'm done with it, right? So you need to know two things. Things number one, you need to know what's causing your problem. If you don't know what's causing your problem, how can you fix it, right? That's number one. And number two, you need to know how to fix it. You need to have the tools, the efficient tool to fix your problem. So for me, I thought about chiropractic. Well, you know what? Maybe this is not the root of all health problems, right? Which I'm pretty sure now it's not. And maybe the way to fix it, it's not all that, right? Because with chiropractic, we deal with the nerves that exit from your spine, right, on the side, and it's called the peripheral nervous system. And here it's only 20% of the nervous system. So basically, we did affect only 20% of the nervous system. So I say, why not 100%, right? So
Mhm.
the central nervous system, which is made of your brain and the spinal cord, can be impacted by doing cranial work. So guess what? I become a cranial specialist, of course, right? So I,
Of
I started
course.
to be happier with that, right? But I realized soon that there's energy, like you're talking about, acupuncture and things like that. And so there's energy. It's like there's some like a hose in your body, right? Different hoses in your body, and there's water flowing in it. And this
Mhm.
is energy, right? The water is energy. So when you step on a hose, what happens? Well, the water get blocked, right? And so that's
Yeah.
the same with the energy in the body. And so I created an energetical technique to release those blockages, right? So I was pretty happy, with the physical aspect of a treatment, right? And the way to do it, right? And after what I realized, it's like, you know what? There's people are complaining about joint pain, and I cannot help them, right? Because it's a different kind of stress. It's not purely physical. It's what we call chemical stress, meaning inflammation. It's like you've got fire in your body. So of course I did study that, right? And then so what I figure out, like if we'll come, Gary, to my office and you say, oh, I feel bloated and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's find out. And your body is going to tell me. So I will use muscle response testing, and your body will literally tell you and tell me which organ are under stress. And again, what's causing the stress in the organ. And like after, we can have an action plan, right? Also, I discover to treat it that oxygen is an amazing thing. It will kill all infectious agent. It will detoxify your body. It will kill even cancer cells, right? Which is going to be very handy for what happened to me after, right? And so, I was pretty pleased with that, right? And so I made a practice out of this. And that's why, as far as business, living the American dream, right? So I thought, like, I had 4 employees, right? I was seeing 250 patients a week. I mean, I was living my mission, right? And but here's the thing, Gary, when you think in life you've got it, you master everything, you master it, and your destiny is far much more than where you are at. Well, life's gonna say, hold on, wait a minute. Why don't you
Yeah.
take that? And so what happened? So I got married, with French woman. I met in a bar in Kansas City, and we have a daughter named Maya, right? And so what happened? I was so focused, Gary, about like work, 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 doing all that things. And again, I was justified, right? But the problem is like when I was going back home after a day of work, I was there, but I was not present. So my relationship started to deteriorate. And within a year, here's what happened. So of course I got divorced, right? And when there's a kid, it's never handshake, Gary. Never, never. For sure. And
Yep.
so that was number one. Number two, because after I became depressed, I even lost the juice, my passion, for my work, which is to me mind-boggling, right? How can this happen? I did, and so I got burned out. I mean, simply, right? And so my practice went to thriving to failing. I was the only one in that office, right? And the cherry on the cake, I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer. So here I am doing my own program. If you would have come to the office, Gary, I'll say, okay, you need to do this, 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 eat this kind of food, and do this kind of take this kind of nutrients, for example, to avoid cancer. I was obviously doing my own program, and I got sick. So I had to redefine everything in my life, Gary, every single thing in my relationship, in my prosperity, in my health, in my job. Everything was like, but I knew one thing. I knew one thing that it was something within me that pushed me to sabotage my health, sabotage my relationship, and sabotage my prosperity. Meaning that I never been in a victim mode, blaming my ex-wife or just the circumstances or blah 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 blah. The victim mode, right? Because I knew better, Gary. Because what happened, my dad was a very negative and controlling person. And he was so negative that obviously when people are negative, they affect themselves first. He got sick at 40 years old. And at 40 years old, he was literally puking after each meal. What I said, he was puking life out. Right. And so I never went back to work. And what happened, when I was able to observe as a young man, or young boy, I was able to observe that, what, people are calling them and they ask him, how are you doing? How's your health doing, right? And so after subconsciously, and we're going to talk about that, subconsciously make the connection, oh, if I'm sick, I got the love and attention. Why not getting better? And after you getting trapped, literally trapped in that vicious circle of victimhood, right? And so, yeah, so I have to complain. Even if I feel good, I'm not going to say that, right? Because who's going to love me, right? And so that's basically it. And again, it's the subconscious mind. I'm not saying it's his fault, right? There has to be something that created that. And so I knew that we are creators, we are not victims. That's our
But
birthright, it's to be creator.
at what point, though? Because everything you said is just so right on, and I'm literally living it right now. But so, what is the catalyst? I mean, do you have to hit rock bottom like that? I mean, do you have to go lost? It's like a country western song. My dog ran away, my horse died, my wife left me. I mean, does all this have to happen before you hit the wall and wake up to this? Or with what your training is and how you're working with the mind and all the clearing, can you see this coming and ward it off before it hits the wall like that?
Both are true. But you have to have the knowledge on the second part that you're saying, right? You have to have the knowledge and understanding. That's what's going behind the scene. And the knowledge, that's why I'm going to talk about it, right? But for me, it was vital because as a doctor and quite frankly, as a healer, I had to go through that. I have to reborn from my ashes, right? But basically, that's what happened to me. Really, I never
Yeah.
said, oh man, why me? That's the victimhood, right? But I said, please God, how long is going to take? I was
Yeah.
planning to live. Gary, I live in my office. I said, oh, I'm going to stay maybe max 6 months, right? I spent 3 years in that office. Don't get me wrong. It was a very nice office, a treatment room. I had a shower, I had everything. And I guess, and remember, I used to be a gypsy, right? That's how people call me. So I went back to my basic here, but yeah, 3 years, and so I had to, because I knew there was one of the things I'm super lucky. It's like that I knew that by helping myself and discovering things, I will able to translate that into my clients. So my motivation was not only for me to get better for myself, right, but to save my life, to whatever. No, it was not about that. It was about other people. And so that makes things so much easier in my book because I'm really, Gary, I'm wired to help people. I just cannot help it. Just cannot.
Yeah, yeah. But so you literally you crash and burn, and
Yes.
you spend 3 years and you go deep. You're like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out, how did this happen to me when I'm like living the dream. I'm super healthy. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and then all of a sudden shit hits the fans. It's like, wow, how do you get yourself up out of there? How do you pick yourself up after that?
Ask the most important question that you can ask in your life. Why? Why this happened, right? And so I went on that quest to find it out. And remember, I already had that, I was please, we never got it, right? It's a journey on everything, right? We
Yeah.
always stay a student. I want to say that. I'm not saying I know the truth, but I'm definitely working towards that journey or going deeper, deeper in the truth, in the freedom and the knowledge for sure. But so, the physical part, I was satisfied with it, the physical stress, the chemical stress, I was satisfied with it, right? Although, so I knew there was that missing piece of the mind body connection, right? What's about the mental aspect? What's about the emotion, right? What's about the emotion, right? And so I started to learn technique just for me to be able to heal myself, going through, that health crisis, if you want to name it like that. Although it never really felt that way. I was really confident. I mean, annoyingly, maybe for some people, confident that I will heal, because I don't know how to express that. And I was not afraid at all. Anyway, so, but I healed myself naturally. I want to say I never went to any MDs and all that. I didn't want that. I didn't believe in it. Why? Because they don't find what's causing your problem and they don't know, therefore they don't know how to fix it. That's that simple. When you use that in your life, when you ask yourself, is what I'm gonna do is gonna go to the root cause of a problem? And do I have a tool to fix it? Man, it's so simple, right? But
I
I
don't know.
can get,
I don't know. I mean, like you said you had to go and say, what is causing this problem? What
yes.
is inside me? We know you got the negative dad. I mean, and that could really wear you down as a child and as a person later. Having that negativity in your life is so damaging. So I mean, how do you
Well,
get in there?
so
How do you find that cause of what the hell's going on?
mind body, right? So the body, I thought I had that okay, right? But the mind, so all the technique that I learned, basically I will tell you, oh, you've got some neck pain and there's some trap emotion there. We can let me find out what they are, and boom, hocus pocus, I'm just gonna get rid of it, right? And so that I had some success with it, but still, Gary, I knew intuitively there was something much more. But I had to investigate. So I started to be curious about the mind, right? I mean, we're talking about mind body. Okay, let's define what the mind. And what I found out, it's mind blowing. And this is information that you can have access, by Googling it, right? First of all. Yeah, I know it's crazy.
First, we
And
have
so,
to Google your book. First, we got to get your book, and then we'll worry about the other stuff.
but the first things you have to find, what I found out, it's like we kind of living in a two separate world at the same time. So what do I mean by that? We've got what we call the outside world, right? So the outside world is called also your conscious mind. It's what you are aware of. You're aware of what's going on. That's your perception of reality. So what are you aware of? Your thought, your emotion, your behavior, and your action, right? The things you think you can do, the things you cannot do, right? Your basically your personality and your self-identity, right? And after there's a hidden mind, a very secretive mind. a mysterious mind that we're going to call the subconscious mind. And that mind record everything you have been doing in your life from age 0 to now. This mind, all the automatic process in your body come from that subconscious mind, like your heartbeat, like your breathing, your digestion, all the things you don't have to think that happen automatically, they come from your subconscious mind. All your skill as a podcaster, as whatever you do in life, or maybe as a parent and all that, are stored in that subconscious mind. So I got really intrigued, right? And so I started to dig further and further. And what I discovered, I'm going to tell you, audience, if you guys are standing up, please sit down. If you guys are sitting down in your car, buckle up. Because what I'm going to tell you, that's going to make you redefine who you think you are. What is that primal question, that number one question, who am I, right? That's going to make you redefine who you are. That's how powerful it is. So first of all, let's go soft first, right? Let's not shock
Yeah,
people
let's
too
go
much.
through the steps.
Yeah. Like step number one, okay, let's take it easy a little bit. So you have to understand the conscious mind. So who you think you are, right? Your self-identity, process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind that you have no clue what's going on there, right? You're not aware of, process data at 11 million bits per second. So it means your subconscious mind is faster, 1 million times faster. So it means here I'm getting some data, right, at 11 bits per second. And there's so much more data that I cannot even sense, right, or perceive that are going into my subconscious mind. So I say, first, wow, when I've learned that. And after the second things, one is the killer. So according to who you read, your conscious mind, your self-identity, what you're aware of in your life, it's only 5 or 10% of your mind, meaning that the subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of your mind. Meaning, when we focus on healing, growing, and transforming ourselves, we focus on in what? On our conscious mind. So it means we use only 5 or 10% of our mind power. So I thought about, me used to party. I say, hey, you know what? Why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party? That would be cool.
Yeah, considering he's running 95% of the show, right? He might as well be there.
May as well. And so that was the goal. How can we, the question, what if we could, right? What if we could bring the subconscious mind to the party? What if we could use 100% our mind? What if we could um, be as powerful as we're designed to be? And that
What if
was
we
my
could? Yeah, what if
what
we
if
could?
we
How
could.
do we open up? How do we open that up? Because the mind is limitless. I mean, the mind is the most amazing thing ever created on the planet. So, how do we get in there? Because with 70 to 80,000 negative thoughts a day in our brain, right? So we're already fighting against ourselves every moment of every day. So how do you reverse that?
Well, you know what, Gary, I used to travel a lot, right? And the most frustration that I had with traveling is like I will meet a cool guy like you, right? And I wanted to communicate with you, but we don't speak the same language. So I try, sign language. I mean, don't get me wrong, you get some alcohol, you you become more creative, right? But still it is not the same kind of communication, right? And so what I think is it's happening in my field, they don't speak the same language. They told you just to change that, to change your subconscious mind and all that. You have to do this kind of thing, which is lots of repetition, right? And lots of prayer, to be honest with you, right? And so I had to find what is that subconscious mind language. And I thought about it, how the subconscious mind communicate with us when we remember a dream. What do you remember of a dream? There's always a picture, a series of pictures associated with that. I never had anybody told me, Dr. Salas, from what I remember from my dream, it's only the smell of it. It's just not possible. Because the subconscious mind, that's why you process so much more data, communicate with picture, right? And so because in a picture you've got so much symbolism that it will take you forever just to describe and write it down, right? Because that visually, when you look at something, there's so much more information that when you read a phrase. right? So much more information, right? And so I figured out that's how the subconscious mind communicate, right? And so because what we have to face, the problem that we have in our lives, and remember the problem, we have to find what is the cause. So what is the cause of a problem? Here it is. We are all programmed. You are programmed. I am programmed. Everybody listening are programmed and are programmable. So how does it work, right? So especially, let's take a very common example. Let's pretend that like age from 0 to 7, we are kind of like sponges. Actually, we've got different brain wave, from alpha to theta wave, which is hypnotic stage, right? So we can like hypnotic towards what's going on in the outer world, right? And so basically we assume things, even though they are not good for us, we don't know better, right? So we assume, and if you assume 2 or 3 times, it's become a program. And those programs are stored in our subconscious mind, meaning that we're not aware, right? And so we've got all those programs. And so we've got two kind of programming, right? Also, what I want to say, it's like, for example, if you got a big trauma, like if I'm a military and I'm in Iraq and I pull a trigger and I kill my best friend by accident, right? I come back to the US, I'm diagnosed with PTSD. I'm a mess. I feel shame, I feel guilty, I'm suicidal. If I had a woman, probably break up because, I'm just, look at all those Vietnam vet, right, that become homeless and all that. So my life goes down the drain, like it happened to me in a way, right? And so big trauma can do that also and create that big program, right? And remember, when you see this Rambo movie and he just wake up from his nightmare, he's on night sweat and he remember him being tortured by the Vietnamese people, right? And so why? Because they're still a part of our soul, still a part of our past, still a part of soul pulling on that trigger. So I call it the past you. So we need to bring that past you back to the present, like that the memory is gone and the program is gone. So there's another way of programming, right? And so those program again, they're in the subconscious mind, right? And so you've got programs that are serving you, right? It's kind of, Gary, when your mind is working for you and not against you, you said, this is very flowing. This is a really good day, I'm very productive, blah, blah, blah. So those are called empowering belief. Empowering belief, right? And so you've got this kind of program, like you said, we can be 80% of our thoughts are negative, right? Daily. And so we've got this other kind of program that it's when our mind is working against you, right? Instead of working for you, right? And it's kind of, those programs are not serving you any longer. And we call that limiting belief. So if I compare the mind as a computer, but maybe I should give an example how those limiting belief, whose negative programming can impact our life. I think that will be
Yeah.
a cool thing. Yeah. So
Definitely.
let's pretend there's a little girl, right? That see her dad is an alcoholic, come back drunk every night to the house and beat up his woman. So beat up her mom. So what do you think that little girl, when down the road, what kind of relationship you think she's gonna attract?
The same. Yeah.
Exactly. So an abusive relationship. So probably 80% of the people will agree with us, right? Which I truly believe you're right, Gary. But here's the thing. Now, if I go to that woman, right? She's a woman now, and she's in the abusive relationship. I say, hey, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? What she's gonna say? She's gonna say no. So meanings the conscious mind's gonna say no, but the subconscious mind as the program, men are predators and women are prey. So who's in charge here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Point
conscious
number
mind is
two.
running the show. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, totally. And so how she's gonna attract that man, right? We all agree she's gonna attract a man like that. She's gonna say, hey, you shake his hand and say, can you beat me up? Obviously, it's not going to happen that way, right? So here's the thing, Gary. It's like our subconscious mind are connected to each other. Some people we say we are one. In a way, we all connected. And that subconscious mind of her, she's going to say, whisper, right? Look at this guy. This guy's been bullied. Now he's a bully. He's got the predator program. So he's the guy for you. Are you ready to tango with him? And she's going to fall in love with him. And after the subconscious mind program of that guy say, look, she's a prey, right? She wants a man that's going to be a bully to her, right? I've got the bully program. So he's going to fall in love with her. And after the polarity will attract, and they, like we say in America, they're going to takes two to tango, right? And so we're going to start that dance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's three different scenario, right? Number one, she married that guy, gets stuck in that abusive relationship for all her life, right? And we all know, I've heard of people like that, right? Why is she
Yeah.
still with him, right? You see what I mean? Case scenario number two, she get with a guy and get tired of being beat up, right? Get with another guy, and maybe have kids along the way. Anyway, lots of suffering, right? But and after they react that way, the most common things. It's like when they're going to tell me, hey, you know what, Dr. Salas? I'm done with men. Don't talk to me about men. They are not good for me. I'm done. I don't want any relationship with men. It's kind of like, Gary, when there's a fire, you put your finger once, you get burned. You put your finger twice, you get burned. You say, hold on. I think I
Fire
understand.
bad, fire
Yeah,
bad.
fire bad for my finger.
So
Uh,
how does this young lady who who falls into this 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 subconscious or the conscious mind is continuously attracting her to this. How does she break that cycle? How does she, instead of just giving up altogether, which is the third scenario, right? How does she say, I'm going to overcome and I'm going to find a healthy relationship. I'm going to find a man who's the opposite of what I know, and I'm going
Actually,
to be happy.
the third case scenario is much more optimistic than you are, Gary. So there's two things that can happen, right? Because we can learn from our life experiences, right? And so, but there's no guarantee. You don't know how it's going to happen, right? You just have to override the program through a more positive repetition, right? And that's what's happening with, like, when they don't speak the same language. That's what they're hoping to do, right? Override the program by, a positive affirmation and writing your journal and things like that. But so she will know that she has been healed when she's going to attract somebody totally different, somebody that cherishes her, somebody that truly loves her, somebody that respected her, somebody that see her as his equal, right? And so that's how you know. Okay, scenario number three, she can come to somebody like me that can reprogram the mind. You see, look at all the suffering all the time. Maybe she had kids along the way. Maybe who knows what can happen, maybe, I don't know. There's so many different case scenarios there. You can avoid all that ordeal, right? And so, since we're talking a lot about program, let's make the analogy of a mind being a computer, right? So your brain will be the hard drive. It's the physical aspect, right? And after your software, it's actually your subconscious mind. And the output of your software is your conscious mind. And the behavior is reflected on the screen of life. So if I've got a good quality software, lots of empowering belief, right? Gary,
Mhm.
you asked me, hey, Dr. Salas, how you doing? I said, oh man, never better. I had an amazing life. I felt I had already three lives, and life is good. I remarry. I've got that wonderful wife, beautiful wife. I've got a kid now, he's 8 years old. I've got a wonderful relationship with my daughter. I'm free of cancer, and my business double. I'm working by myself. I have so much less stress and very low overhead, right?
Mhm.
But if I've got lots of limiting beliefs, right? So it means my quality of my programming of my software is not all that. You say, hey, Dr. Salas, how you doing? Oh man, I think I'm like my dad, I'm very pessimistic, and everything that I'm always sick and I feel so lonely and everything that I'm trying to to achieve. I never get the result. Why me? Why it's always happening to me? And all the other people around me succeed. You see what I mean? That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how.
You are connecting everything together, which I think is the secret, right? If you're just focusing on one part of the physiology, um, it can reset quickly back to where it was. But when you're doing what you're doing, which is
Exactly.
incorporating everything, it's going to be more difficult to reset back to the old ways because you've healed all the different aspects of the human instead of just one.
Yes, sir.
And I think
Exactly.
that has so much more to do with the success. And most people just focus on the one. You go to a psychiatrist or you go to a doctor or you go to whomever, right? A marriage counselor, whatever. But you need to encompass all of it.
Yeah, because like I tell my patient, with coming to my office, like for my physical patient, right? You come in that to my office, I see you with somebody who's got potentially physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional and mental stress. And we know, for example, very simple things. Some people's got low back pain, right? And those nerves that go to your low back and are creating pain, right? They also go to your gut. And see if your gut is inflamed, that's going to refer some, that's going to stress out those nerves. So if you do only body work or massage or PT or chiropractic, you're going to feel better, but it's going to come right back. Now, if you heal your gut, boom. So that's an example of a chemical stress can, when you get rid of a chemical stress, can help you physically and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you
It's all connected.
when you get with someone or when someone comes to you, do they mostly come to you for the physical as a chiropractic work, or most people come to you because they're just completely, their mind's just completely done, kind of like mine? How do people come to you for?
Well, they can come for everything, right? But mainly I'm known to specialize for long-term pain and stress, right? And chronic disease. And why I choose that? Well, because the medicine the way it is now, they cannot fix you for this kind of long-term pain and stress. They are very good for emergency room. Don't get me wrong. And it happened to me. I got a car accident. Hey, I've got my bone that like a horse accident on this one, right? I want to have a surgeon, to place the bone back. I want to have a painkiller and the anesthesia. No problem with that, right? Very efficient for that. Now, for long-term pain and stress, they are terrible. They are the number three killer in this country. Number one being cardiovascular issue, number two, cancer, number three, medical errors and side effect of a drug. Why? Because they don't find out what's causing your problem. So they cannot solve it. Period. We're done. I can debate a medical doctor in 2 minutes. That's it.
I think that's why your line of work, your profession is under attack because the pharmaceutical industry does not want you to be healed holistically. If you
Of
do,
course.
that costs them a lot of money. A healthy person is not a good customer, right? So they'd rather go to a regular doctor and him give you five different prescriptions for five different things because that's just the way the system works, right?
Exactly. But also, if you look at the bigger picture of a system, is it easier to control somebody who's healthy, or is it easier to control somebody who's sick
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Exactly.
dependent of your drug?
Exactly. So what's the first step, Doc? Besides going to you, because we all need to go to you, especially me. So what's the first step of someone to find that? Do they just need to stop the madness for a minute, stop the exterior working on them and just stop and like what you did and just take that time to try to find a what's at the core of this disease, not just sickness disease, but this dis-ease within us. What do they need to do? Not everyone can take 3 years off and hang out and figure it out
You don't
like
have
you.
to. That's the good news. I never thought
That's
about
what
that,
I'm
but you're
asking.
right. You don't have to. You don't have to. And more than likely, it's not going to happen because if you don't reprogram who's programmed, that's going to be the status quo right there. You may get some improvement, temporary relief of stress because you're not exposed to too much stress, right? If you take technically, if you take day off, but it's artificial, right? And so, well, it's like when you've got a computer program, right? and you're tired of that computer program, it doesn't work any longer for you, what are you going to do? You're going to delete that program, step number one. Step number two, you're going to replace by a program that really works for you. And step number three, you're going to love what you see on the screen of life. That's basically the step of a mind clearing. Now, before I tell you what the steps are, if you allowed me, I've got a question for you.
Please do.
All right. So, do you believe that your mind can create pain in your body?
Oh, 100%.
Do you believe that your mind can create symptom in your body?
Yes,
Do
100%.
you believe that your mind can create inflammation in your body?
Of course.
I
Yeah.
just describing one of my program that is called the body clearing, right? Because when you look at the mind clearing, and when you look at, I'm sorry, when you look at limiting belief, you Google it, what you're going to see? You're going to see, oh, basically some self-esteem stuff that preventing you to reach your goal, right? So um, they say you think you are too young or too old to achieve that, you're not good enough, things like that. That's a part of my goal and success clearing, which is another things that is a part of a mind clearing system. But that's not all that. Because yes, your mind can create pain, and quite frankly, when the healing things like the acute phase, like, okay, I give it 3 days, right? After it's your mind that's taking over, right? And so if somebody has been everywhere and try everything or feel like it and cannot be helped, you think that's going to mess up his mind or her mind? You bet you, right? All the doubt, the uncertainty. Why me? I mean, other people can be helped, and of course, and especially with that model of that sickness medicine, that's basically telling you that it's your fault, right? Or what's wrong with me, right? Because we don't identify what's causing your problem, so you have to be the cause. I mean, what's left? You have to be the cause of your problem, right? It's all in your head. It is true, but it's all in your subconscious head, right? That's a big difference. And
Yeah.
so, and I want one more thing I want to say before I told you go even deeper on the mind clearing things. There's such a thing, it's called the placebo effect. So, what is the placebo effect? Basically, let's see, there's a double blind drug study, right? And I go to that study. I will never, but let's pretend I go, right? And there's a medicine that's going to heal my heartburn. So, they give me the medicine. Wow, it works. No more heartburn, right? So I said, man, this is good stuff. They said, but you know what, Dr. Salas? Actually, we give you the sugar pill. That's all you have. So, meanings that the belief that I will be healed by that drug heal me.
Well, you see even on the television commercials, it says if you take this drug, 46% of the people were healed compared to 36% of the people who took a placebo. And you go, wait a minute. 30%, 36% of people who took a placebo were healed. I mean, they
It's
took a sugar
insane.
pill and were healed, right? 46% supposedly were healed by this medicine, and the medicine has 975 downsides to it. They all have these symptoms that'll kill you. So just that 30%, 36%, like you said, with the placebo effect, were healed. How does that work? How did that happen?
And yet, that because they believe in the subconscious mind. That's
Hmm.
it. They brush it out as, oh, it's the placebo effect. That's how you heal, man. That's how you heal. It's exactly the process of the deeper healing you can ever use to heal yourself and others.
But here's the thing, though. You have to know what you're trying to heal, right? So yeah, I mean, when you go into these things, you say, I've got heartburn, and they get, well, we're going to give you the real pill or we're going to give you the placebo. You don't know which one, right? At least you know what you're going in for, right? But so what you're doing with working all aspects of this is first you're finding out what is the problem, what is the source of it, and then we can work on fixing it, right?
Exactly.
We
So
have to have the
basically,
source.
you don't have to identify your limiting belief. That's the biggest mistake. I quite frankly, how do you expect using only 5 or 10% of your mind to crack the code of 90 to 95% of your manpower? I mean, good luck. The odds are pretty against you, right? So here's
Yeah.
the secret. You don't have to figure it out. You don't just have to replace what you don't want. You make people like somebody comes and say, you know what? I want to transform myself, right? And so you've got carte blanche, like we say in France. You've got carte blanche. And so I will say, so he's going to tell me, what should I do? Well, first, you're going to make a list, man. And you're going to make a list of all the things that are really bothering you, right? That they polarize you, right? And after, we're going to do different category, right? We're going to do for your health. We're going to do for your relationship. And after, we're going to do for your prosperity or reaching, living the life that you want, right? And the good things. And after, we're going to go down the list. And there's some different things, we're going to do your parents, right? And so it's not about judging them. No, it's nobody's fault. It's not your fault if from age 0 to 7 you got some limiting belief programming, right? It's around you. It's what's happening around you. But here we go, Gary. So it's not your responsibility because you get it, but it's your responsibility when you know to do something about it. It's not your responsibility because you got them, but now that you know how it works, it's your responsibility to do something about it, right?
So
And so
how are you rating these different things you're saying? Let's see how you feel about your prosperity, your health, your current relationship, the relationship with your parents.
I'll ask you to rate it. I will ask you to rate it. What is the number one things that you tired of it? And we'll go after the number one thing.
Hmm.
Right? If it's in a relationship, well, we'll do the relationship. We'll do like if it's a woman, we probably do your mom first also. Because it's not about judging people. It's like we all affecting each other with our energy, right? And so things are passed on even from generation to generation. You see that woman who there's no man present, and she got pregnant, and the daughter does the same thing, and after the daughter, right? So we have to cut that cycle, right? And just
Yeah.
make sure it's disconnected like that. When she's got a kid, she's not going to pass, and it's a girl, right? She's not going to pass that on too. So you go after whatever is what I call the most polarizing things, the things that preventing you to sleep at night, the things that you say I'm done, or like the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, right? And people know right away. There's no doubt. I never ask you, okay, let me think. No, no, no. Okay, I won't do that. Okay, let's do this. Right? Because and we can do pain too, because pain is pretty cool because it took me like Gary 3 years to basically bring the technique the way it is now. And I use pain a lot as a feedback mechanism, right? Because pain is there, is not there. You cannot argue with that, right? And so, right. And also when I knew that within 70 to 80% of the people I will treat with pain, and within 2 visits we will have no more pain, I
Wow.
knew I was under something. I knew because in my field they don't do that. They don't even talk about pain, right? Or they,
Yeah.
they murmur it, or they just don't talk about it. They don't dare to go there. And
Yeah.
so when I say, oh, that's now there's something there, right? And so yeah, and so there's one more
So
things I want to talk about.
the generational thing is so real. You know, I see it all the time,
Yes.
and with people I work with, and just friends, and and especially in different cities and stuff like that. You see it really deep, where just that you've got someone's got to break that generational cycle because it just continues to repeat, and the pain just continues to go, and the destruction continues to go. Somebody has got to stop, that path on that. But the thing about pain that obviously better than me, but pain isn't always physical, right? I mean, you can feel a pain. You go, "Oh, I'm just this hurts and that hurts," but it's really not a physical pain sometimes, right? It's you're just so stressed or mentally you're creating this pain that maybe isn't physically there.
Well, but it feels like physical, right? You
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's causing it,
Hmm.
right? So when there's a normal reaction of a body, right? And so that's why I'm still doing the three things, right? Physical, chemical, and emotional, because it's all related, right? And so, for example, if you feel depressed, right? And So we're going to do mind clearing on that, of course. But also, if your gut is a mess, the gut, we call that the second brain, right? And
Mhm.
so if you've got food sensitivity and things like that, that's going to affect your brain. That's going to be able, you're going to have to be able to address that too. You're going to have to. That's a part of a puzzle, right? If you look at your healing process or your life as a puzzle, right? That's a part of a puzzle. That's why it's still important to do that. And what I can do remotely is the mind clearing and definitely the chemical stress. The physical stress obviously is much more challenging, right? Because I can do so many more things physically. But you know what? When you assess and address, meaning you find what's causing the problem and you know how to fix it, right? On the mind and on the part of the chemical stress, that goes a very, very, very long way. Very long.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
want to mention another thing, if you allow me, because I think that will help people to understand how we are programmed constantly. So remember, I talk about the placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
And there's such a thing is called the nocebo effect. And people don't know too much about that. So what it is, well, same case scenario, I take the pill, my heartburn is gone, but they told me, you know what, you may experience some side effect. And the side effect is going to be a headache and pain in your neck and a headache. Sure, take the pill, and I've got pain in my neck and I've got a headache. And they told me, oh, that's too bad, but you know what, you took the sugar pill. So the negative belief that if I take the pill, right, if I take the pill, I will have all the symptoms. So negative things from the outside, being in fear, being always afraid, the media, the bad news, the everything that's negative can impact us, right? And like you said, 80% of our thoughts are negative. 95% our thoughts are repetitive from the day before. It means we like a hamster in that wheel because of
Yeah.
whose program? Because whose program are born from our past, right? So it means
Yeah.
our past are controlling your present and molding our future. Remember that little girl, she's going to attract that abusive relationship, which is her future, right?
Yeah.
And so when we get rid of this programming, we can change our present, but also we're going to affect our future tremendously. That's how you change your life. That's how you transform truly. That's how you grow definitely. And that's how you can heal, obviously.
So you've got to scratch that record, you've got to remove that tape, you've got to change
Heal
that
it.
process that just keeps wrapping and wrapping and wrapping,
Yeah,
except the hamster
exactly.
wheel, and just stop it.
Exactly. Because what's happening, it's like this. Imagine a triangle here, right? And inside, that's the limiting belief, right? On top, so if I've got limiting belief, I will give you an example. If I've got a limiting belief here, on top of a triangle, I'm going to have negative thought. If I've got negative thought, I'm going to have overwhelming emotion. If I've got on the right base, right? If I've got overwhelming emotion, I'm going to have non-desirable behavior on the left side of the base of a triangle, therefore unproductive action. Example, if my dad told me you're a loser, he didn't tell me that. If my dad told me you're a loser, that's my limiting belief. I'm going to think like a loser. I'm going to feel like a loser. I'm going to behave like a loser. And I'm going to have loser result. If I've got loser result, I'm going to feel even more like a loser. I'm going to think, man, I knew I was a loser, but such a loser. You kidding me? And so that limiting belief is going to be reinforced. I call that the subconscious stress loop. And we all have thousands and thousands of loops, or maybe less than that, I don't know. But we've got lots of loops running behind the scene and dictating our behavior. So why that's a reason why we're so negative. But there's another reason, Gary, why we're so negative. It's because we have been taught we are too much in our head. We always want to resolve a problem. Okay, last time I checked, a problem is not too positive, right? It's pretty negative, right? Anyway, I'm just saying, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we focus on that, right? So guess what? I resolve a problem, I've got another problem. And after I've got another problem. Because we have been told we are only our conscious mind, right? So we use an analytical mind, and At best, sometimes you're going to use your intuition, which is a part of your subconscious mind, really helping you out here. And so that's the problem. So all our energy is going to our head. We shut down our heart. And if we have trauma, like, the guy, uh, like if I pull the trigger and I kill my best friend, that's going to shut down my heart, right? And after we don't take action, right? And so I call that open mind, open heart, and open will. The head, the heart, and what, remember the book, the hara means belly in Japanese, the 3H, that all needs to be aligned. Because if I don't have peace of mind, if my mind is always preoccupied, and like you say, 40 to 60,000 for the day, right? And so that's not peace of mind for sure,
Yeah.
especially 80% being negative, right? So
Yeah.
what happened, we kind of living in a closed-minded world, right? And so what does it mean? It means that for one problem, I'll see either no solution, like I'm going to be healed, how I'm going to help myself, right? Or I see maybe only one, right? So that's closed-minded. So when we start to get rid of some limiting belief, what's happening now, we've got more peace of mind. There's less energy going to our head. We're healing some of our trauma, so our hearts start to open up like a flower, right? And after we can take better action, right? More desirable action, right? And so follow me here. So there's less and less limiting belief, right? So now we've got more peace of mind. Now I can follow my heart, right? And after I can take the necessary action, right? Because if I stop here, it's all a fantasy until, we're designed to take action. We are designed to create things in this physically in this world. We're designed for that. Otherwise, still a fantasy running in your head, like saying, "Oh, you know what? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say I'm saying, okay, I'm going to start a diet, right? So I'm thinking I'm start a diet, and after my feelings just said, man, last time you started a diet, you lose 20 pounds, but you regain 30. So I'm not going to feel too good about that. Am I taking action? Maybe. Are they going to be last action? No, because my thought, emotion, and action are not aligned. You see, when my thought and emotion and action are aligned, boom, this is it. That's how you're productive. That's how you unstoppable, right? So open mind, I open my heart. Who's making the decision? All those possibility that I see now. Instead, I've got one problem and I've got maybe 10 possibility now. I'm going to choose the one that is the best for me. I'm just going to follow my heart. And after, very important, I'm going to create.
You're
And I'm
you're
going to
ending up in the gut, and I'm wondering, is your gut the ultimate wisdom for our bodies? Over your gut should overrule your heart, definitely, and your mind. I mean, the way you're sending it, or are they all equal? Do you believe them to be equal, or do you think your gut would ends up in your gut for a reason, and it ends there because your gut has more knowledge than your heart? You could trust your gut more than your heart and your mind.
let me explain that very, very, very simply. Okay. So peace of mind. We are men, right? Peace of mind is what? Masculine trait, right? It's masculine, right? We know we all know women, they are more emotional, right? So it's more like the feminine because we all have masculine and feminine within us, right? So masculine, feminine. When you combine masculine and feminine, what happens? You create. How do you create a baby? You need get the sperm and the ovum, right? And that's how you create and you create that where? In your gut. I mean, not us, but the woman in the belly, right? So follow me. Masculine, peace of mind. Feminine, I'm going to follow my heart. The belly, combination of masculine and feminine. So let me give you the example. Well, you know what? Gary had the gut to start a podcast. Masculine. Gary have a gut feeling that starting a podcast will make him meet like very interesting people and will help him towards this path of becoming a better person. Feminine creation.
Mhm.
That's how it works. So there's one more necessary than the other. I mean, I like when if you were a woman interviewing me, I will say, that's the woman who decide make the choice and decide to do. They love that, right? But there's no. It's all are essential. All are essential to the process of creation. Does it make sense?
Oh, absolutely. No, I love it. I love it. So, but you do start with the mind though, right? I mean, you with your work, do you start with the mind because you have to find that before you can go to the body and go, to heal that?
Do I start to heal with the mind? You mean, or what is your question
Yeah,
exactly?
when you're looking when you're looking, someone comes in and they've just their world is a complete disaster, and then you take them to these questions. Is that where you start, or sometimes you go, we need to work on somewhere else first, or does it always
It,
start
uh,
with the mind?
it just depends. If you want to get rid of some emotion, negative emotion, you start with your heart.
Hmm.
So there's no things. The key is to align everything.
Hmm.
Everything needs to be aligned towards what you want, and that's
Hmm.
the key. See, that's the key. And so, and you can see that in nature. Like when you've got a tree, right? Got the tree because okay, let me explain that. So because I think that's a kind of you're gonna appreciate that. So the mind is the how you do things. The heart is why you're doing it, and your gut is what you're doing. Does it help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
See what I mean?
exactly what I was looking for.
Yes, that's
Exactly
what
what
I
I was,
thought.
yeah, yeah. I love this work. So now you're very busy. You're practicing there in Kansas City. And what's next for you with this? I mean, you're starting to train other doctors
Yeah,
to use your
that's
methods
what
and to take this more out to the world. And that is
I
that
mean.
more of your focus now? Are you
Yeah,
still working with people, or is it just strictly you're starting to do the coaching and the training of other doctors?
yeah, that's the coaching and the training. Man, there's no doubt this needs to be spread out.
Hmm.
I mean, there's till my last breath. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's
That's it.
awesome.
I mean,
That's
there's no
awesome.
retirement.
Because there's only
Anyway, I've
one
got
of
to 8
you.
years old, so
Right. I know. There's only one of you, and so as you create others
it
to at
has to
least
be
take
to
your
domino
philosophy.
effect. Yes,
Yeah, because
it has to be.
American medicine is just such a complete disaster. I mean, I've had very good doctors. I did the same thing with you at the cancer, and then I just had this weird heart thing because of up here. And I've had some very good care. But one thing you see is that there's a playbook that they go through that they do because
It's
that's
called
just
a
what they
it's called a
do.
diagnosis. It's called a diagnosis
Yes,
because
yeah.
by they have to diagnose you. And
Mhm.
like that, they even if like you find a wonderful doctor that want to go that is like a free spirit and want to go out of the way, right? If you've got the diagnosis, you've got a protocol that you have to follow. If you get out of your protocol, no more license.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
that's how it works. Yeah, and that's looks like what they're trying to do to your practice too, is to try to change it to be more like that, which is against
For
everything we
chiropractic,
should be
yes,
doing.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. And that's
yeah,
politics. That's politics that they want recognition, they want whatever prestige, which I think it's not. I think helping people is much more prestigious than, being recognized by your fellow health practitioner, right? I mean, that's ridiculous.
yeah.
If you feel so uncertain about yourself that you need others to validate who you are, that's pretty bad in my book.
That's not good. That's not good. But Doc, you've been amazing. I'm so grateful for your time. I know we've gone a little
Oh,
bit
we had good
over.
time. Yeah, I really
I just
enjoyed it.
had one more question, though, if I may. I've just got one more
Of
question.
course,
And
of course.
um, if you wanted to leave something with our guests, if you had a thought, something that means something to you, something you've discovered throughout your craziness of your life and things, what do you think that one thought would be that you'd like to leave people with as we go on? Bye bye.
But you know me by now, Gary. I'm going to have more than one thought, right? So number one, there's only two, okay? Don't panic. The number one, we are so powerful. We have no idea how powerful we are because we are being told we're only 5 or 10% of our mind, right? And so I'm sorry, I cannot help it. You need to listen to that. So let's pretend, let's visualize the sun, right? And the sun is God, the divine, whatever you want to call it, right? Depends your belief, right? And so the sun creates your spirit, right? And so this is all what we call pure love, non-duality, all there is and has ever been. And after you've got the sky, and after you've got you and me, the physical you and me, right? And so some people, the sky is so cloudy, but they say, there's no sun. Sun doesn't exist, right? So what makes those cloud? They are the limiting belief, man. That's what they are. So when you start to get rid of the limiting belief, now you can have a glimpse at the sun. Now you start to feel the warmth of the sun, right? And you get rid more and more and more limiting belief. Now you're getting more connected to your spirit. And guess what, Gary? You realize that you are not only 5 or 10% of your mind. You realize that you are not only your conscious mind. You realize you are much more than that. You are a spirit living a physical experience. And that's the truth. And all the things that you thought you were limited, you were born, you were conceived, should I say, you were conceived with that. All that 90% of what we call like supernatural ability or whatever your superpower you want to call it, that's your birthright, that's your conception right, should I say. Because you can get programmed within the belly of your mom, right, if she had some bad experiences, right? And so that's your conception right? So you are so much powerful. And so this is it. You can get reconnected to your spirit. You can get back to your conception right, to the way we are truly designed as, again, spiritual being living a physical experience. So that's the number one that I want to say. And I want to say for people who struggle, for people who think they think they have been going everywhere and try everything with no success, it's not your fault. They just didn't find out what was causing the problem and they don't know how to fix it. I don't believe in chance. I don't believe in bad luck. I believe of the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there's a cause. They just didn't find out what's causing the problem. And if you have been listening, until now, you understand what is the cause of the problem and you understand what are the tools. One of the tools, I'm not saying I've got the entire truth, obviously, but I've got pretty damn good result, right? And so one of the tools is definitely the mind clearing. So there's hope for you, right? Even though you think there's no way, right? Because I'm going to tell you something. Of the people, the majority of the people that come to see me, they think they've been going everywhere, try everything with no success. And like I'm explaining to you, I'm explaining to them, that's the reason why, And usually they start to tell me, oh, I've been trying this. I say, okay, you want to have another solution, another way to think, right? And so it doesn't truly matter to me, right? You want to have totally a different opinion. I may ask a few things or two, because if to see what kind of drug they're taking and things like that. And I say, there's hope for you, right? And if you don't feel better within one, maybe two visits with mind clearing, fire me. I'm not the right guy for you. And that's the way it should be, Gary. That's the way it should be. You don't need to wait like years. You don't need to wait like 20 visits. You don't need, you just, you should, if you go towards the cause of a problem, it doesn't take a long time to heal. It doesn't take them a long time to heal. But you know what? Nobody can make the decision but you. Nobody. And it's a teamwork, right? You're not going to take a pill and say, "Oh, okay, I don't have to do anything." And when you say it, it sounds so ridiculous, right? You're going to be totally dissociated from truly who you are and using your own ability again to heal yourself, right? And so that's what I wanted to say.
I love that, Doc. I love that. You know what? It's we all fall into the darkness sometimes. I don't care who you are.
Of course.
And if you don't you either face it or you don't face it. And if you choose not to face it, well, it usually doesn't end too well. But sometimes you need help to face it. And I love what you're doing. I love how you're incorporating so many things, not just healing one thing, but you're working on the whole body, the mind, the heart, the gut. I love how you're doing that. And I can see not only are you passionate about it, but I know that you get results because I could feel it already. I've
Yeah.
already, my
So
mindset shifted just in this hour together of some things that I know to be true. And you gave me the placebo.
good.
Doc, you gave me the sugar pill, and I found it without the side effects, just by giving
Exactly.
me
Thank
some
you.
answers. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm not only grateful for you coming on, but I did this so that I could get a free therapy session.
But you know what? Talking about therapy, you are your own healer.
Yeah.
Because what I do with the work, we didn't go over that, but I will give you the technology and guide you, because we need to customize this program that I created, right? But you're going to be the one who's sending this program to the picture that you want and you don't want, right? So basically, I'm giving you the technology, helping you, giving you technology to use your own ability to heal yourself, to use that 90% of your healing power, 90% of your mind power that you didn't have access to. So you're doing your own healing. That's what it's for me. It's the holy grail of healing. When you help to empower somebody to heal himself or herself, there's no better things than that. Because you don't have to trust me about, oh, am I do? Is it true? What he's telling me? No, that's your picture, man. That's not mine. That's your subconscious mind talking to you, right? You're doing the
Yeah.
reprogramming. I'm not doing it, right? Some people may argue I'm a lazy man, very lazy. I know,
Well, and
seriously,
and, and imagine, I mean, imagine the
that's
power. If you
fantastic.
can, if right now we're fighting 90 demons with only 10 demons, right? Imagine if we could start rotating that instead of 90%, against that we're fighting every day with only 10% power, right? Imagine if we could start getting that 10% to 15 to 20 to 30 and even go 50-50. At least it's a fair fight, right? At least it's a fair fight and that's what you're doing. You're empowering us to now change that dynamic from 90% negative and 10% positive to more of a positive thought process, more of using your own healing, more of using your own true gifts to heal ourselves.
Exactly. Having your mind working for you instead of working against you. I mean, that's so
Against.
simple, but that's so true. And when you bring your mind on your side of what you want, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, so
And when
true.
your mind, your head, your heart, and your hara is aligned, this is it. I mean, you just it's a question of time for you to succeed. That's it. There's no other way.
We become unstoppable, just like you.
Exactly. I don't know. I love what
All
I
right,
do, and this,
everybody.
this needs to be spread out.
We've been blessed to spend a lot of time with Dr. Alain Salas. Doctor, where can people find you? What have you going on? Where do we get your books? Where do we get your training? Where do we get how do we connect with you and get healed?
All right. So, the website, right? Website, I'm a doctor, it means teacher, right? So I take that very seriously. You go to my website, it's called themindclearing.com, and you've got all that information there. Also, because, coming from Gary, right? If you mention Gary, you will get 20% off of treatment, right? Meaning that it takes an hour, and whatever you want to reprogram regarding your health, your relationship, and your prosperity will do like that. Because, quite like Gary, like you said, we can talk about that for hours, right? But true knowledge is about experiencing things, right? If you don't experience things, you just don't know, right? You got knowledge, which is important, right? But can make you take action, right? That's the most important thing. And
Yeah.
so you've got 20% off. And if you want to learn the entire things, which is the mind clearing basic, and remember the body clearing, which is about getting rid of pain, symptom, and inflammation in your body, and the goal and success clearing, like if you, for any goal on your life, even as a businessman and everything, if you're an entrepreneur, you can You can definitely learn that technique for yourself to transform yourself and grow yourself, like I treat myself, obviously, and um, and also to help your loved one. See, look how empowering it is. You don't you you don't need to have no PhD on health. You don't need not to have no PhD on healing, on relationship, on prosperity. You just need to reprogram and help other people to reprogram and help yourself to reprogram, right? But also, if you're a coach or a health professional and really serious about going deep and going after the cause of a problem and getting the tools how to fix them, and you can add that to whatever you're doing already, right? But just going a little bit deeper, right? And maybe things you couldn't resolve, right? That's also for you, right? And you can learn that technique. Not only you can work on yourself again, I think it's vital and very important, but also you can, um, making a profession out of it.
So
So
I
you will
just
get,
want to,
if you want
I
to
just
learn
want to,
all that, if you want to
yeah.
learn all that, the three things, you will get 50% discount, 50.
Okay. I just want to, I want to just expand on that real quick so people get this. We go to the mindclearing.com and you do multiple things. You've got coaches, right, that help people with their mindset, their prosperity, some goal setting, relationship work, body clearing work, which is
Yes.
huge because our bodies are a big poisonous cesspool. But so about the body clearing work, or you can go to the site, the mind clearing, and you can sign up for training to then get
Correct.
involved with becoming one of your coaches or trainers, or do you already have to be a
You can
chiropractor?
be, no, 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 no. You can be, it's for lay people, right? And it's on my website for lay people because when I got inspired, I knew intuitively it will be for everybody. It has to be. But also, if you are a coach and a health professional, right? So you basically go on under contact, and there's a form that will appear, and you can fill in the form and ask me whatever you want, right? And also, there's my email, and you just email me. And if you want to get treatment and things like that, we'll find a time that work for you and me, and it's an hour, now treatment that you will do with me, by the way.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm not real fond of the term life coach, really. I think that it's kind of a funky overused term, but basically people can come to you and get this training and become a coach regardless of what
Mhm.
they're doing in their life right now to because if they have a calling to help people like you did, then they could take your process, what you've learned over these years, and then start using it on to help people.
Yeah. Also, if you're a massage therapist, even a chiropractor, and you really want to go into deep work, right? Things that's going to change because I mean, the kind of result you've got, you can tell because your patient really thank you. Of course, it's a business, there's a money transaction, but they say, "Man, thank you so much," right? And so
Yeah.
that's why I cannot burn out anymore. No way, it's not possible, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Doc, I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Okay,
Me
everybody,
too.
we've got Dr. Alain Salas. We got go to just the mindclearing.com. That'll give all your answers there. It's a great website. I spent a lot of time on it. You can go down a bunch of rabbit holes and you could reach out to the doctor himself and get ourselves fixed because we're all screwed up. It's so, Doc, you've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Everybody,
thank you, Gary.
go to the mindclearing.com and talk to Dr. Allen, and he'll take care of you guys. So thank you
I
again for
will.
listening. I appreciate everybody. See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.